Hello, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural edition of the Thunder Hat podcast. For those tuning in for the first time, which is all of you, we're here today to look at the BBL 15 through the very, very lime green, electric green eyes of the Sydney Thunder. Now, before we get into what this is going to be all about, let me introduce you to my very patient co-host, who, full disclosure, has had to put up with about 15 minutes of tech issues. I don't even know if this is going to work. We will see. My good mate Steggz, how are you? Thank you for finally joining me. It is my fault completely.
Not a problem, Dan. Tech issues happen to the best of us and the worst of us, as the case may be.
Very, very good.
But yeah, look, we love chatting rubbish about lots of things, but cricket in particular, something we've been chatting rubbish about for, almost 30 years sort of thing. So it's nice to formalise it up a little bit.
It absolutely is. So thank you for everyone who is joining. And I know I have lost at Southo, Dan. We're hoping to get it back. We were hoping to launch a couple of weeks ago. But again, tech issues get even the best of us. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the BBL 15, or more specifically, we're going to talk about Sydney Thunder. Today, it's going to be pretty level-headed because who doesn't go into the season believing their team's going to win everything undefeated? We'll see how we sit after a couple of games' time. As you know, I'm a little bit prone to go whooshka. My co-host, not so much. He's the one that calms me down. So we'll see how it goes. But Steggz, let's get right into it. Let's get into the import issues. Now, we recorded an episode a couple of weeks ago as a bit of a test, and we spent 15 minutes talking about an import that's no longer going to feature at all. We talked about how we had Lockie Ferguson signed for the full season. We talked about Shadab Khan being available for potentially the whole season. None of that's happening now. Where are we, Steggz? Where are we? Let's bring up the squad. As it stands right now, we have 4 imports on the books. Only 3 can be named at a time. Reece Topley, the English quick, has been brought in to replace Lockie Ferguson, who won't feature in the first few rounds of the competition. Sam Billings, of course, is our long-term signing, had a brilliant season last year, is an absolute staple of the squad. And Shadab Khan, who you and I were a little bit back and forth about on the original recording, about what he's going to bring and how he might be similar to another player that we did have on the books who's no longer there, now looks like a brilliant signing. What do you make of our 4 into 3 imports?
Well, I think picking up Reece Topley to fill that gap of Ferguson in the first half of the tournament is a really good signing. Topley has a great reputation in white ball, particularly T20 cricket. Played with the Renegades, I think it was, a couple of seasons ago, and did quite well there. And so it works pretty well that Ferguson's in the UAE tournament or whatever it is, and Topley will play until he goes to the South African tournament and Ferguson comes in. I think that's a pretty good combination there. Billings, again, we know what he brings, not only with the bat, not only with the gloves, but just being that kind of senior pro figure in the team. Shadab Khan, we've talked about how that would fit in, particularly with the spin stocks that we have. But given where the squad currently is now, he will factor in a fair bit, but it'll just be a matter of how we put it all together because, you had last year with Green, Andrews and Sanger all playing together. I can't really see a situation where we'll play 4 frontline spinners. So someone out of that Aussie trio is probably going to miss out. Probably will be Andrews based on, probably being that third in line behind Green and Sanger. But it's still a pretty good squad. Madison being re-signed, I think, is a handy pickup to strengthen some of that batting possibilities. We'll likely have Constus through the whole season now. We weren't sure what was going to be happening there when we last recorded, but he has picked up some runs for New South Wales in the Shield this round just gone against Queensland and batted quite well from all reports. Ollie Davies is the one I'm concerned about. He hasn't been in great form for New South Wales this year. We'll see how that goes. Matt Gilks has come back into the Shield team this round just gone after getting some good runs in the New South Wales second 11. So he comes with a little bit of form coming behind him. So you might have those two battling out for that kind of number 4 spot. But we probably will be looking at, say, Warner, Constas, Bancroft for that top 3. Billings sitting at 5. And then, whatever happens from there sort of thing. So how am I feeling about the squad? I think fairly typical. You can't have an all-star 11 where everyone is at the top grade, just, with salary cap and all those sorts of things. And the draft helps with that too. But this is a side that could do something, just like pretty much every other squad is, like you were saying at the start. You don't know what you're going to get at this time. So I don't think they're going to go through undefeated, but I would be expecting them probably in that kind of 3rd, 4th, 5th kind of bubble, just as an anticipation. I am a bit of an optimist in that sort of sense, but you're not going to know what happens until they really get started.
That's true. It's a good overall view of the snapshot. Let's break down the imports. Now, we retained Lockie Ferguson early on, and you and I were both, well, that's a no-brainer. We had to. He bowled extremely well for us last year. Our stocks in the quicks probably aren't too good. Our spinners are fine. Our batting looks a little bit light, but a little bit more on that later. I think Lockie Ferguson was an absolute no-brainer. We were a little bit upset to see he was going to come in January, I believe, so he's going to miss the first 3 to 4 games. Reece Topley being signed immediately quells that fear. I'd still obviously have Lockie Ferguson in a perfect world, but we can't. He's contracted elsewhere. The Thunder have done a really good job in signing as like for like as possible. It's not like you can go out and get, Pete Stewart Broad or all the English quicks are in the England squad, There's not a lot available. So I think they did exceptionally well there. Sam Billings, again, was fantastic last year. We were really, really happy he re-signed with the club via Brisbane. He was everything we could ask last year and more. He's brilliant with the bat. As you said, he's brilliant with the gloves. I love hearing him on commentary. He's talking up the boys. He's chirping. He's just good for morale. The one we were a little bit iffy on was Shadab Khan, who is a batsman with a bit of bowling or a bowler with a bit of batting, depending on who you ask. Now, full disclosure, earlier tonight, I went onto the Sydney Sixers, the pink side of town, onto their Facebook group to see the reaction to Bubba Azar's signing. And it split. Most people love him, but there is that contingency of people that don't, because his scoring rate's not particularly high. He's brilliant. It's a great signing, even for those pink lot. Shadab Khan, cricket-wise, is very, very good. When we picked him up, we're like, okay, I didn't think he'd be available. Does he fit in the squad? Because as you said, we have 3 frontline spinners. You probably don't need a 4th. That said, our home ground is a spin-friendly pitch. You can play 1 quick and 4 spinners if you really have to. Obviously, with Daniel Sams being the batsman who now, though, I look at it and I think, why we have Shadow? Because of a certain Indian great that we signed, who unfortunately has a series-ending injury, will be out here as a showpiece, and we'll sell tickets because he's such a superstar. But I think Shadab Khan's a real good pickup in hindsight, although Pakistan have scheduled the T20 right in the middle, so we don't know how that's going to affect him just yet. But assuming he's available for the first 3 and the last 3, that's a pretty good draft.
Yeah, and, a lot of that stuff comes down to, some board politics and all of that. There was some conjecture probably about 6-8 weeks ago that Pakistan was going to not approve the what do they call them? The no objection certificates to allow players to play in overseas T20 comps because of some poor form in the national team. But there hasn't been any further talk about that. The fact that they have organised some white ball cricket in the middle of not only the Australian competition, but the South African competitions on at the same time. The New Zealand one will be happening in a similar time frame. The one in the UAE is either kicking off soon or has already started. I can't keep track of all the different ones. It's hard enough to keep track of one T20 competition, let alone, trying to do half a dozen. So we'll have to wait and see. If he isn't available for part of the competition, I don't think they're going to be able to look for someone that would be of a similar caliber. And I think they probably do run with the Aussie trio of spinners there. We've talked over the years about the balance of a side and how that fits together. And I think batting-wise, there's a lot of similarity between Shadab Khan and Daniel Sams in their approach. They are, big swingers. They can be quite powerful hitters. So, they're handy players to have, but it's just how you fit it all in together in that sort of set. So, it'll be great to have him for as long as we can have him, if that's all 10 games, if it's 3 or 6 or whatever. But I can't see them looking to try and find someone else to fill that international spot if they go. And I think they'll just back the side that they've got, particularly with the way that those spinners played last year. It'll be interesting to see how it all goes together.
No, I agree with that. There's no time now. As we're recording, we're a couple of days out from the start of the tournament, unless they've got an almighty ace up their sleeve. And I don't even think it's been confirmed yet when he'll miss. It's hard to go to someone and say, just hold off. We'll let you know when we know. So I think we're stuck with the squad. And I say stuck in a positive sense because we made a final last year. Now, it hasn't been a humongous chain turnover. I mean, we lost one in Jason Sanger, who I'm obviously quite upset about. Sometimes things outside of cricket mean more than cricket. And I think him moving was more to do with moving closer to home rather than any hatred towards us. But I think on paper, I think they've drafted really well. I think Lockie Ferguson being unavailable for half the tournament this time was covered, and it gives us a chance to retain him next year when hopefully he is available for the full tournament rather. So I think Copeland and co have really, really nailed it. Looking at the squad, we'll bring it back up just quickly. You mentioned Nick Madison, who was added late a couple of days ago as we record. Of course, signed for us last year and was unable to play through injury and then an unfortunate illness that, by all accounts, he's absolutely kicked to the curb and fantastic for him. The last player in the squad probably isn't brought in unless it's you're holding out for a player, like if a Chris Lynn pushes for an exit or whatever. So he's not going to play a huge amount of cricket for me, and I don't really care. Him being in the squad is going to be such a lift, knowing that what he's been through and bringing that in. Plus, he's a darn good cricketer. I mean, there was some footage from a local. I know it's a local park game, but he whacked like 100 off like 20-something balls. Like he was just hitting sixes for lols, which can be. There were certain players, large, rotund wicket keepers, I believe, in the West, who were hitting sixes for laughs. Couldn't bat, but could hit. So if he comes in for a game or two, looking at the squad there, I have my thoughts. Is there anything that looks particularly strong or anything that looks particularly weak to you?
I think that top three in Bancroft, Constas and Warner has the potential to really be a key point this season. Bancroft was in quite good form last year before that unfortunate collision with Sams over in Perth. Constas looked good before he did get picked up in the test squad. Warner kind of came and went a little bit last year. But I think if you get the three of them together, he doesn't have to feel that pressure of, I need to be the guy. Mm-hmm. And hopefully
I thought he was exceptional last year.
Yeah, I think it took a little bit to get going, and he kind of faded out a little bit in the back end. I don't remember him picking up a whole heap in the finals sort of thing, but I am trying to remember about 12 months ago, and
it's a long time ago now.
Yeah, especially for old men like us. But I think that top three can be quite good. I think the spin stocks are quite good. The fact that we've got Topley and Ferguson to kind of cover the season between the two of them takes a little bit of pressure off that bowling attack.
Mm-hmm.
It allows Sams and McAndrew to kind of drop down the list a little bit in that sense. And Ryan Hadley will be around that selection discussion as well. He's been in quite good form for New South Wales this year. So, look, I think kind of that middle to lower order we'll always have a bit of a question mark about it, just how it's put together. The balance between bat and ball in that sense. Just that second, third pace bowler will have some pressure on it, sort of thing. So I think they're the main holes I see. Well, not holes, but potential weaknesses. It's probably the best way of putting it.
We talked a little while ago, Steggz, and we weren't negative on the squad because again, this team made a final last year without Sams and Bancroft. But I asked you that same question, and you and I were just nitpicking. Now that we're closer, now that we know that Constas is available for probably the whole tournament, I don't think he's getting back in that squad.
Yeah.
The top three looks elite. Like, that's world-class top three. Sam Billings at 4 or 5 is a world-class. The middle order, I'm still not confident on. I think Ollie Davis is very hit and miss, literally. Madison, look, I hope he gets a game, but I'm not going to say I expect him to score mass runs. Matt Gilks I think he can open. I don't think he can bat in the middle, so I think you take your risks there. Maybe you drop one of the others down. I don't know how you work that out. The back end, though, with Sams, Green, Khan, can go ballistic and get you 60 runs in part of the last 3 or 4 overs, or it can get you 6 runs in 12 balls. That, for me, we do is just like that. Obviously, you want a Mitch Owen type, but like a Tim David who can come in and more often than not, he's going to hit you those big runs. But I don't know whether it's just we're getting close and I'm getting excited or it's because I miss rugby league. I feel a lot stronger about this side now than I did last time we spoke.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Constas definitely being available helps, because when we did talk about it, we weren't sure what was going to be happening with the test team. That settles kind of that top 3. I assume it'll be Constas and Warner at the top with Bancroft at 3. And I think that's a good combination. And then you've probably got Billings probably fits at 5. So you're looking at, who's going to be your number 4. So you're probably looking at Davies, Gilks and Madison to kind of duke it out for that. Madison's usually a top 3. I don't know whether 4 or 5 necessarily works for him in the same way, white ball wise, but it's not a massive difference. But and then it's just working out how you fit the rest together, because we have talked in the past about the era of Sams at 6 being that spot too high. But you've also want to make sure you get your bowling options in. So can Shadab Khan play 6? I think he's batted about that high for Pakistan in white ball stuff, T20 cricket. So you might be looking at, say, let's go down that list. So it'd be Khan, Sams, Green at 8, and then, however you fit the rest in, sort of thing. So if you're probably looking at, how's that going to go together? It's probably going to go, what are we looking at? We're looking at Andrew, Sanger, Topley, or McAndrew, Sanger, Topley sort of thing, something like that. It depends on, there'll be a little bit of flexibility to be able to go kind of 3 or 4 spinners, depending on what you want to do, depending on where you're playing. So you might find that McAndrew and Andrews swap around depending on whether we're home or away, sort of thing, to either go with a 3-3 pace spin split or a 4-2 Yeah, but I think there's reasons to be optimistic. I think there's always reasons to be optimistic, and T20 can be such a a raffle sometimes.
Random.
Sometimes it comes off, and sometimes you get bowled out for 17. But yeah, I think you're right when we say we're feeling a little bit more positive about it now, partly because some of the questions we had have been answered. But also with the changes in the overseas players, there's a little bit more settledness to it, because we were talking about having 4 internationals that were going to be available for most, if not all, of the tournament, and how they were going to make that work.
Yeah.
And I think that was going to be the tricky bit, as we've kind of seen in the WBBL this year when they've brought in Emily Arlett to kind of give them a bit of extra pace options. But it's meant that they've had to take Chamari Adapadu out of the squad to be able to just go with the 3 internationals. So that's one less headache they've got in that sense. But, a lot of it will come down to form and how people are looking in the nets and all that sort of stuff. So, I wouldn't be surprised if, there are changes through the season depending on how things go. So, it'll be interesting to see how they line up early next week for that first game.
Yeah, it's true. A couple of players we didn't mention, Blake Nikitaris and Tom Andrews, of course. He'd be there or thereabouts. He was pretty quick by all accounts. So I haven't seen too much of him, but some of the stuff from his days, I think the Aussie 19s or 20s World Cup a couple of years ago.
You're talking about Aidan O'Connor?
Aidan O'Connor, sorry, not Tom Andrews. Speed stuff, knocked middle stump out a couple of times. That gets me excited as someone that doesn't know much about him. I just feel Riley Meredith or, I know Spencer Johnson's out for the season, but a Spencer Johnson like that tall, speedy, 145 clicks that can come in and just unsettle a bat. Now, I know Topley's pretty quick. Ferguson is quick. We've had bowlers that have scared captains from other teams before. It didn't do us much good, unfortunately. So it's not all about speed. We've seen with England. The bowling's a little bit up and down. Like, everyone knows how I feel about Nathan McAndrew. One day I love him, the next day I can't stand him. He's Gurinder Sandhu, but he can bat a lot better. Wes Agar, I think he took like a 3 for 12 or something, and then went for like 80 off 20 balls in the final. So I don't want to be trying to defend a low score at any time this season, because I don't think we can do it unless we play 5 spinners. But what you mentioned earlier was so Ravi Ashwin was signed for the Thunder. We done a whole segment about it, about how excited we were on and off the pitch, what did it mean. The Indian fans flooded. We added like 100,000 followers. A lot have dropped off since, but that could just be Twitter balancing itself out. He and Shadab Khan were going to play pretty much the same role. We don't need to worry about that anymore, but now Shadab Khan's not available for those times. You love to have Ravi Ashwin available. So in hindsight, it is what it is. Well, I don't know. I love the BBL. I love the fact that there's cricket on every night. I love the fact that we can sit and watch. I love the fact that I know you sit and watch it every wicket go, when's the block coming? And it is coming, trust me. I like the look of this squad. I really wish we'd kept Jason Sanger. I just felt like he was coming into his own. You can't keep them all. I get it. I don't think we went out too far to replace him. Maybe Nikitaris has got something we haven't seen yet. But, mate, I feel like it will be better than the bad teams, probably not as good as the elite teams. It's very shark of me to say, but I think another finals campaign is very much in the reckoning here.
Yeah, look, it's we've already said T20 cricket can be a bit of a lottery, and I don't think either of us expected, how last season ended up. Jagged spot in the finals and managed to get to the grand final out of third, knocking off the Stars and then beating the Flamingos over at the SCG. No matter what they may or may not say about, oh, our squad was weak or whatever. So, yeah. But, you look at that Hobart squad. Mitch Owen, before last season, was a very average middle order bat who could bowl a little bit, and he had, a season to remember.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Tim David sitting there at 5. You've got Meredith and Ellis, but not necessarily a whole lot more like high quality in the bowling stocks there.
Well, the Billy Stanley disrespect.
Yeah, well,
no, you're not wrong.
but that's the thing I was trying to say before. You can't have in the BBL, an all-star 11 because salary cap doesn't let you. You're only allowed a certain amount of international players, and then you're working with whatever you can get from there. So, you look at who's around and all that. All the squads are going to have strengths and weaknesses, and it's just a matter of, keeping your strength strong and trying to minimize your weaknesses. How will that look? Stuffed if I know at this moment. But after the first couple of games, we'll be able to have a bit of a look and work out where it's going. But I like you said, making the top 4, I think that'll be a successful season. And once you get to that sort of run of things, you're like, well, let's see what happens. And anything can happen in finals. So, I was out at the game at Homebush last year when Stoinis and Maxwell looked like they were just about to take it away. And then, they go fairly quickly one after the other, and then Thunder are back on top and are able to get the win from there. So, 1 or 2 balls can change a game. So, and I think that's the thing about T20 cricket. Like, you and I grew up on Test cricket and old school one days, and we very much appreciate the more traditional forms of the game, if you like. But we also enjoy the T20 stuff because we know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not cricket as our dads coached us. If we tried to do some of the stuff that they do in T20 cricket, we would have been running laps, for ages. Or, JD would have been, coming in off the long run up at us and, springing in past our head. Hi, Dad, if you're watching, you're probably not. But anyway. What it means is that T20 cricket is a different beast, and it plays differently, and the approach is different, but it also means that the way the games go is different as well. You can't pick it or predict it in the same sort of way because freakish things happen. Mm-hmm. Unexpected things happen a whole lot more than in other forms of the game because everyone's trying to do something. You're trying to, do things in a very different way. Each ball counts in a very different way to, what happens in red ball cricket. So, so part of it's you're a mug to try and, predict things before the season gets started. So, of course, that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
But it's also just about what are the possibilities. And as we've said, the possibilities are pretty good with this squad. Mm-hmm. But it's got to click together. Mm-hmm. And if it clicks together, it'll be great. And if it doesn't click together, well, sometimes it'll go well and sometimes it won't. And, you take that sort of thing. But it'll just be about, okay, how do they want to go about their play? That'll probably be the biggest thing. If they've got it clear in their mind, their approach, both with the bat and with the ball, I think that will give them the best opportunity to have a good season, to have that clarity and say, right, this is what we're trying to do when we're batting. This is, our plans against opposition and those sorts of things. if they've got those things, that'll really help them put it all together.
It's true, mate. Game can turn in literally an over, double wicket maiden, and it's a completely different game. Or it goes for 20 and you're just chasing. I just want to see him get a few things right this year. I want to see him get the team build right. Sounds obvious, but a couple of years ago I got very frustrated that we're playing too many park bowlers, not enough bats. I think we ended up coming last as a result. Last year I felt like we nailed everything except power surge. We had two blokes that were 20 off 15 balls, and we went on too long and had to bring out guys that weren't set. So there's a few things to improve on in last year. Ultimately, we did make a final without two of our best players who took each other out accidentally in Perth, I believe it was. So there's a lot of reason to be excited. There's a lot of reason for every other team who's not the Melbourne Stars to be excited because they haven't won one and probably never will. But yeah, you're right. It's too early to predict. That's what we're going to do, though, because that's what we do. It's fun. We can look back in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and be like, geez, we were far off. But that's a squad that's got plenty of runs in it. It's a squad that can take wickets. It's a squad that can get beaten by 100 or win by 100. It's a T20 squad. I'm excited. Old mate has bought himself another year after a very, very good season last year. I think Trent Copeland has been our best signing in many, many years. Completely changed the feeling around the club. I may eat these words, Steggz, but I'm excited. I love me some T20 nonsense. I'm like you. I know what it is. It's fun. The kids sit down. You can have a beer or two or a lemonade as you like. You can just talk to your mates. There's a bit of music that everybody clap your hands, plays 50 times a game. It's just fun, and that's what we're here to. We're here to have fun. But let's take it serious for 1 minute, Steggz. Pretend handguns, pew pew. Do we make finals?
I think so.
So I'm hearing definitely.
I would say 60% sure.
Okay,
that's about as good as it.
That's 100% yes, because we don't sit on the fence here on the Thunderhat podcast.
Oh, I'm not sitting on the fence, but like we said, it's hard to pick it at the moment, but I feel like, especially with the experience of last year, I think that puts them in a good spot. I think, we've talked about, the way the side will go together. That'll come, bring a lot to it. But I think they're in a spot to build and keep building. But every other side's going to be doing that as well. So this is the tricky bit where it's only 8 teams. Well, 7 once you discount the Stars. Mm-hmm. It's only 10 games. Like, it's a short thing.
The beauty.
There's momentum. That's a massive part of things. And I think that's really something that helped Hobart last year. They really had some momentum going. So, if they can get some good results in the first, 2-3 games, that puts them in a good spot. They've got a Sydney derby early on. Mm-hmm. If they can, jag the win there, that definitely helps. But a lot of it will come down to, home games, and hopefully after the success of last year, some good crowds at the showground. That atmosphere, when it's going, it can be a very intimidating. Is a weird word to use in T20, but the noise can definitely get going, and it can be really, really good and positive for the team. But I've also been there where, they haven't been as successful, and either the flatness or the kind of anti-noise can really deflate too. So they've got the opportunity to kind of really play that 12th man role, the crowd there at Homebush. And hopefully, with a good season last year, that'll help the crowds come through and really pick up that support.
You're right. One, just quickly on the home ground advantage, I think it's the biggest home ground advantage in the competition because the pitch it's dire, let's be honest. The field's not great. It's not quick. You're never going to see a 250 score there. You're going to see the 120s to 160s. We got the slow bowling attack that can defend that. I like that they're built around where we're going to play the majority of our games. Now, throwing Canberra in there throws a bit of because that is you can score those huge. So I think the squad is picked towards that, and I like that. Speaking of crowds, though, there's a bloke who's not going to be out there, unfortunately, but he's going to be in the stands. Ravi Ashwin. Well, Ashwin Ravi, he wanted to be announced as moving to Australia, signed with the Thunder, injured, won't be there. It's going to play a role off the field. I think people are just going to go to see him in the stands, mate. Like the frenzy that was whipped up when he signed, obviously from the Indian fans and a lot of Western Sydney fans, and there's a big correlation there. I think you're going to see a lot of people lining up just with cutout heads at him or buckets or whatever. I am stoked. I hope he gets to play. I hope he comes back next year because getting the Indian players into the BBL is absolutely key for mine. I hope he rocks up to a couple of home games. He's going to be treated like a rock star out there.
Yeah, and I think Shadab Khan's got the opportunity to pull some in as well. So, Western Sydney's got a very strong subcontinental population. The Thunder have done great things with, I think they call it the Thunder Nations Cup that they've been running for a few years, where it's opportunity for lower level players to represent their countries of origin, particularly those subcontinental countries. In a bit of a competition around the place. So they've done a lot of work to tap into that market, if you like. So I think both Shadab signing and if Ashwin's able to do a couple of home games, I get the feeling that he's keen to be back next season, the way he's talking. But they'll need to pick him up in the draft next year. I don't think they'll be able to kind of sign him afterwards. And it'll be, whether other teams are, willing to try and get ahead of them sort of thing. It's a great draw card if they can make it work. We'll have to kind of see how it goes.
Absolutely right. Well, with that, brings to the end of the first edition of the Thunder Hat podcast. Look, if this goes well, who knows? It may not make air. Maybe it'll do 1 million views. We don't know. We'll be back, hopefully celebrating a couple of Thunder wins. Maybe I'll be here yelling by myself after a couple of Thunder losses. Who knows? But I did have some more bells and whistles planned. Tech issues, man. I had to log in on something else. There's no fancy background. There's no theme music or anything, but we hope to get that up and running by next time. But you heard it here first, most importantly, undefeated premiers, the Sydney Thunder.